It's 7 o'clock in southern Nevada, and time for the Thursday night D-Star Roundtable for April 4th, 2019. This is Mike in 68KH, your net control. This roundtable is held every Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific on the constellation of X reflectors, hosted by the Kings of Digital System. This is a technical net dedicated to the world of open source digital voice systems. It's a group effort, so we expect stations to key up and help us out with our topics and questions and answers and whatever may come up. Just wait for me to call for stations to key up, and you can then quick key afterwards, and I'll call on you as we get through the list. Just remember, though, to not tailgate, that is, don't quick key between stations that are transmitted to give all the linked reflectors and repeaters a chance to drop and then come back up. Tailgating is not good in any digital format. For those new to the roundtable, we don't take formal check-ins or do a roll call just to give us more time to talk D-Star and digital voice. Net control is online at roundtable.tech. That's roundtable, all one word, .tech, T-E-C-H. Just put that in the address field of your favorite browser, and you'll be taken to the D-Star Roundtable forum board, where you will find a real-time chat feature called the Shoutbox. You can use that to contact me, as well as to post things related to topics or just anything that you'd like related to tonight's net. And if you can, include live links, such as you'll see in some of the posts we've had thus far, specifically from K6JM, and you can use some of the tools right above the text entry field to accomplish that. So again, to join in on the fun for the live chat room called the Shoutbox, just go to roundtable, all one word, .tech, T-E-C-H. A reminder that the Roundtable Net, the D-Star, Thursday night D-Star Roundtable Forum Board, all things digital voice, its podcast is being moved to YouTube. And we may have one or more podcasts uploaded and through maybe the middle of this month or the end of it. But we are going to drop the iTunes podcast and moving the audio and perhaps eventually some video along with it to YouTube. And in the Shoutbox, I've placed a link to find the new location for the Roundtable Forum Boards, for the Roundtable Nets podcast. And I shouldn't have called it a podcast, but you guys know what I mean. Just the audio recording of the net that we've done for a very long time is moving to YouTube, so just a reminder for that. All right, first up tonight, as always, is announcements. So stations with announcements for tonight's net, please key up now. All right, didn't see anything or hear anything, so I'll assume that perhaps some announcements may come up as the night progresses. If so, just key up and let me know that you have an announcement, and we'll take you. So nothing thus far, and I don't have anything that's been sent to me as in the way of an announcement, so we'll move right on through to the Shoutbox in the Roundtable Forum Board. K6JM posted a question that he'd like to have answered or some help with. He's curious about how many people follow the Roundtable, who follow the Roundtable, that is, who have higher power hotspots, which modems they are using. He talks about the xxxSPOT combining a modem, modem and miliwatt-level radio boards like the ZUMspot are popular. But how many people, he would like to know, are running instead 5 to 20 watts? And then in a subsequent post, he suggests that there are some higher power hotspots or repeaters and wants to know which modem board you use, including the ZUM Radio's MMDVM Pi board. There's a link to that, as well as repeater builders, STM32 series digital VMs, as well as the Nano Teensy. And you can click on those links and take a look at those boards. So to help Jim out, who helps us out a lot, how many stations run high power boards, 5 to 20 watts? And what do they use to accomplish that? Stations. Please key up. I have K6FED, KJ6OOV, and N7PGI. First, we say hi to Frank. K6FED, go ahead.
Hi, N6HKH in the group. This is K6FED. Yes, Mike, I'm using the STM32 board attached to a Yaesu FT8800. And it seems to work pretty well. I get to choose which mode I want to run it on. A little bit sensitive when it comes to getting it to work with the transmit side, but the STM32 definitely does the trick with the FT8800 analog radio.
All right, very good. And the reason for the high power modem hotspot, K6FED, go ahead.
Well, there are times when I like to ride around the neighborhood, and I'm at a decent elevation, so I can go to the neighborhood store or go to the auto parts store, or even walk around the neighborhood. I can literally get out to about 9 or 10 miles out, and possibly hit. Well, I can hit back at it if I'm doing it with a mobile system. So it comes in handy when you just all you want to do is grab a radio. So it makes a great personal simplex repeater.
Indeed. Thank you. KJ6OOV, thanks for joining us. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mike and the net. I have the ZUM MMDVM Pi board, and I got that primarily to use with my 2820 in my RV, so that I can set up my hotspot with my cell phone data service in the RV and drive the 2820 at 5 or 15 watts, and then run around with my handy-talkie and use that as a high-powered hotspot, so I have connectivity basically sort of in the town that I'm staying in. I did that instead of trying to use the 2820 and crossband repeat. I think it's simpler and a lot more functional just to use the ZUM Pi board, and I'm real happy with it, and it worked out great. Back to Ned.
Yeah, those high-power hotspots are actually important, if not essential, at many of RV gatherings, especially, for example, the Quartz Fest in Arizona, where having access to a hotspot by HC running around this large camp area is important, and you can even let others use it. So, appreciate it, Fred. Thanks for that description. N7PGI, welcome to the roundtable. Go ahead.
Yeah, good evening to everybody. This is N7PGI, Bryant in Idaho Falls. Like the first gentleman, I'm also using the STM32. The one thing I can say about it for sure with Pi-Star and everything, it's very, very simple to set up. I've used it with a number of radios, from a Yaesu 817 to right now it's plugged into a 2820. Setup simple, it works really good. Haven't really had any problems. Mostly reason for using it is I do spend quite a bit of time in remote areas, and it works good to be able to get away from the vehicle but have the hotspot capable of linking, anywhere to the reflectors, but I can also through the D-Star link it back to another hotspot at home. 4 of my members of my family are also ham radio operators, so we can communicate back and forth when out in areas where there's no other form of communication. Anyway, hope that answers some questions. N7PGI.
All right. Well, thanks for that. Yeah, both the STM32 and there's a number of boards that Repeater Builder makes that, as they describe, for digital modes, they give you, as they say, quote unquote, new life to analog repeaters by allowing them to become digital. But they make great hotspots. They have the onboard microcomputer, and quite frankly, they're very popular and reasonably priced, and a lot of people use them. But we can't overlook the ZUM Radio MMDVM Pi board, as Jim describes. And there's a link for that if you'd like to take a look at it. It takes you to HRO. And the key here is that it's designed for high-power hotspot applications, and fully assembled, and does a lot of trick stuff for MMDVM, which the firmware for that is preloaded and, easily upgraded. So it's quite popular. All right, anyone else wish to comment on their use of a specific MMDVM high-power modem board to, have a high-powered hotspot, not just the usual tiny milliwatt one, which is probably the best thing when you're at home, but a lot of people like to crank some power out, and especially in areas where it's the de facto D-Star or whatever digital mode repeater in your area. Stations, please key up. I have WB5EKU and KJ600V. First, we say good evening to Don, WB5EKU. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mike and Annette. N6HKH, WB5EKU. I have an STM32 board that I have had on the bench for a little bit. I'm going to replace the modem on the K6PUW repeater with the STM board. It's very nice. I've tried it in hotspot mode while I've been testing it on the bench, and hooked it up to a CDM 1250, and it works really, really, really well. Seriously considering getting a second one and putting it up at the house here. It really works well. I have a ZUM board version 1 up on K6PUW, and I'm going to replace it with this. So, N6HKH, WB5EKU.
Well, so it was a lot of fun. You can never have enough MMDVM boards of whatever ilk, and good luck with that. KJ600V, go ahead.
Mike, I wanted to just check to see if I made it in on the other round. There's a lot of dead air after I unkeyed. Maybe there was a glitch on my end. Back to net.
I heard you fine, and it seems complete. The latency here is a bit long. It's the same problem we had last time here, where I've got to wait quite a bit to both stop transmitting and then let the other stations key up. Otherwise, you're doubling before, my transmission gets out. So, no, we got it all in its entirety, and not a problem at all.
Thank you very much. Back to net.
Well, while I was transmitting, it looked like K6JM came in on a double. I don't know why you would ever think to do that, but it's fine with me because I caught it. Well, I hope we're not having trouble tonight, but K6JM. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, there was a dead air there after you. In fact, you kind of cut out in the middle of your last transmission, so that's why I was holding back. Then I thought, well, if there's dead air, I'll key up. So I didn't mean to double there on you. Anyway, yeah, I wanted to thank everybody who commented there. And what was interesting is a couple people, they were doing a higher powered hotspot from in basically a mobile rig, and then be able to range far and wide with an HT. I haven't done that myself, and I think it's kind of neat, and I understand the reasoning, but I thank people for bringing that up. And that's another way to make use of this hotspot technology. I had I started out with a simplex D-Star hotspot that ran about, I don't know, at one point I had it at 20 watts. And then I turned it into a full duplex repeater. The problem is I couldn't provide much service to hams in the area because I have a low-lying location. And but I did, I could get out several miles normally, and then if you went up into the hills, you'd be looking down on where I live, and then it would be even farther range, but of course that's no good for mobile. So at any rate, I like the idea of having a little more power when you want to go farther than a few hundred yards. And yeah, at home I do have a ZUMspot running 10 milliwatts, and I love it, but I can see the value, and I appreciate people coming up explaining what they're doing. So back to you, Mike. K6JM.
Okay, Jim, and no trouble in the doubling. I mean, I get noticed when somebody is doubling, and I can't explain why you had dead air, and maybe I was transmitting dead air, but I would hope not. All right, anyone else wish to comment on the use of high power MMDVM boards, mobile or otherwise, and maybe tell us what you're using and why you have it? And it's not always recommended that you just crank out high power, especially when you're operating in a congested metropolitan area. Certainly, you just need the minimum amount of transmission power to be able to accomplish the task at hand. But there are times when high power works well, and there are boards made for it, as we've seen. Stations, please key up. All right, that I guess we'll do it for this topic. And didn't see anybody else do any reports from ham fairs and hamventions that you've attended? Perhaps you've seen some new gear that you'd like to tell us about, or there's some news in the V-Star and digital voice arena that came to your attention as you went from vendor table to vendor table. Stations, please key up. Okay, didn't get anything there. Maybe everybody's just sitting, standing aside for Dayton, getting ready for Dayton, and planning to do nothing more than, go to Dayton, which is all right. Anything new in digital voice? News, updates, news alerts, something that's the latest and the greatest that's been brought to your attention that has been published. It could be an article, it could be software. What do you have? Stations, please key up. And we greet Bob, W6KD. Thanks for being with us. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mike and everybody. I don't know if it's news or not. I guess it probably is, but I was perusing the the ICOM website earlier today, and I noticed that the ICOM 9700 is no longer listed as coming soon. They now have a brochure there, and I haven't seen that anybody's gotten one yet, but $2,100 it looks like for that little bad boy. It does have dual decoders in it, so it will receive 2 D-Star streams at once. So only $1,100 or $1,050 per stream. But so that'll be the newest gadget on the block for those with deep pockets or interest in satellites or sideband, UHF, SHF kind of stuff. But anyway, it looks like it's about here.
All right, Bob, we lost the very tail end of that. It looks like it's about. Anything beyond that? It just sounds like perhaps you cut yourself off. W6KD, back to you.
Well, that was the end. I said it looks like it's about here. I might have let the mic button go a little early.
Well, I agree with you that actually in some of the social media platforms, stations have announced their purchase and shipment to be soon received, and others have actually received their Icon 9700. It's available. It's shipping. HRO is certainly sending them out. I don't know how many are available, and I'm not certain if there's a backlog at this point. But let's find out if somebody has a IC 9700 and wants to, well, brag about it. Stations, please key up. Well, didn't get anything there, so did anyone order one now that it's available? Or were you on a reserve list, paid, well, 25 to 50 bucks depending upon the vendor, and have notification of the IC 9700 being shipped? Or perhaps there's a, it's possible that HRO or Gigaparts and others have a limited stock, and it's just a matter of getting them out. Although Icon shouldn't have an issue, frankly, distributing radios. That hasn't been a problem for many years, from my understanding. But anyone expecting to get the IC 9700 here shortly to their shack? Stations, please key up. Well, no response. I guess the $2,100 might account for some of the lack of interest. There was a number of tweets, for example, asking various usual tweeters, including D4KLX, if he's ordered one and anybody else got one. A lot of photos on Twitter of stations receiving them, not just Europe, but also in the U.S. And Jonathan Ayler said, well, it's a matter of budget. That's a lot of money for that radio. And that's true. Perhaps that's the reason. Let me pose this. Have you thought through this new radio and decided not to buy it? And perhaps you can let us know why. It could be a matter of money, and not that you're broke, but that is a lot of money for that radio. It's not the same as a 9100. It doesn't have HF. So there are some drawbacks to it. Of course, it may not be quite as expensive as the 9100, which is, I think, still in production being sold. But anyway, or is it because of features? Is it that it's just getting a base/portable station that for that amount of money doesn't really do much more than what you already have, or perhaps it's just overpriced in your view. We'd like to hear your opinion. Stations, please key up. Yeah, same for me. So, all right, we'll see how that the IC 9700 goes. And if you get one, come up on the roundtable on Thursday nights, especially if you listen to this on a recorded basis, and let us know what you think. I mean, help others decide if it's worth that kind of money. It's a big budget radio, and it's not the most expensive thing you can buy, but, and it is the latest from Icon. A lot of people favor that particular manufacturer, so. All right, any other new gear that's come out? Any new hotspots that we should worry about? Has anyone made let's call it an advanced release notice, pre-release is what I'm struggling for, to Dayton, of something that they're going to, begin sale or selling in Dayton. So what's new? What else is out there that we need to bring our hands over? Stations, please key up. V5RS, thanks for joining us. Go ahead.
Yeah, good evening. Well, it's interesting to hear about that 9700. I was going to comment on something else, but I've been playing around, like I have an ID51A plus, and the other day we were fooling around with DRATs, sending files, and now the 51AD has a high-speed data mode, and I'm not sure if I got it figured out how to get it sending files in the high-speed mode. And it also has, I have that RS, what's that mode called? There's a app for the smartphone, and that's called RS MS1A. And we were playing around with that the other night too. But that one doesn't have, it's not a, it just sends out the pictures on it, and if there's enough packet loss that you're just missing bits, it doesn't go back and check it. Whereas DRATs, you're having a way to check the files as they're getting transmitted. Anyway, that was all I have there. Is if anybody has any comments about transmitting data with the 51 AD or the 5100, that type of thing. So I thought I'd throw it out there. This is Ron, B5RS in Saskatoon.
All right, Ron. No, there's no problem in leaving one device to going to another. So anyone out there transmitting data, whether it's the 51AD or any other ICOM radio that, well, has the capability of transmitting data, are you guys doing that? And if so, what's been the result? Stations, please key up. N0 RSR, appreciate you keying up. Go ahead.
Well, I use an ICOM 7100 for FT8, and that works pretty slick. I use that WB5EKU software, and that does pretty good. I've been able to, with a 7100 and a multi-band dipole, I've been able to get Japan, South Korea, a couple other wonderful countries over that way. So that's working out well. Probably got 200 contacts right about now. And being that I only started in October, I thought that was pretty good. So, N0 RSR, back to you.
Well, alrighty. So, what about photos? And, sending, pictures, as B5RS describes it. Anyone doing that? I mean, is that just come and gone? Was it a feature that both YSF and D-Star and their, Yaesu and ICOM claimed could be done, and there was even a model with a little camera in the mic, and people were taking photographs of, about as much as they could get in the frame, which would be about a rear view mirror size, and kicking it back and forth. But it seems to have come and gone. It's more like a novelty. I don't know that pushing photos or other documents, for that matter, in whatever format or whatever image you have, is a real bonus. That is, it works well. Now, you got DRATs and other methods of pushing things around by radio. And of course, FT8 is not in the same league. It's a different sort of thing. But anyone actually transmitting data in frame, or is it just dead? Was it a novelty and nobody cares? And if you want to, it's video or nothing, and you certainly have, all that stuff, and separate from trying to use D-Star digital voice to transmit it. So, anyone have any comments, thoughts? Is it all the rage and we just missed it, or is it just come and gone? Stations, please key up. All right, didn't get a response to that, so I don't know, Roger. You may be on your own in this endeavor, but it's fun to do, and I just that topic it's interesting you brought it up, because it's not been brought up on the roundtable for quite a long time, and I just don't know anything, haven't heard anything, haven't seen anything about it since then, although the Europeans, it seems, sometimes push photos and transmit data on their ICOMs, and but it seems that there's far better ways to, quite frankly, the best way to, send that status on social media, and that's the fastest and quickest. Of course, it avoids the, that's not the point, but it is kind of the point because there is a far better way to, get information from one place to another, even if it's in an emergency income type situation. So anyway, all right. Anybody else want to talk about transmitting data on digital voice? And if not, we'll move on. Stations, please key up. I have N0RSR and VE5RS. N0RSR, go ahead.
Well, I can't say I've really done much in the way of digital pictures except for the slow scan TV stuff as of late. And that was from the ISS, and there was actually a shortwave experiment happening the 25th through the 27th of last month, and they were actually doing SSTV over shortwave. So I was able to pull down a couple of those, but I haven't really done anything with the sending pictures. But I do know my Kenwood has a TNC in it, and I have heard that it is possible with that you can send such as email and pictures that way. And 0RSR back to it.
Yep, indeed, and VRATs also has quite a bit of capability as far as messaging and attachments that you can download. So various ways of doing it. VE5RS, go ahead.
Yeah, well, thanks for N0RSR for coming up. Yeah, I played around with FT8 on my 7100, and I've done hundreds of contacts with that. It works good. Okay, how this all started for me was we're talking about WinLink, and there was a mobile link TNC to plug into any FM radio and use your phone and get on APRS. And then we said, well, it can be in KISS mode, and you can run WinLink on it. And so I thought there's a guy that has a WinLink server, and I was going to send files with my Yaesu FT270R, and it would get up to 2K and quit, and then we got working with them, and we thought, well, let's try DRATs. And DRATs just goes a whole lot faster, and it's still 1200. We're still the lowest speed stuff, but it seemed to go quicker, but not as fast as the internet by a long shot. I know the internet's but we wanted to try something without the internet. That was the whole point of the exercise. And so we're just trying to see what the capabilities are of that, and comparing WinLink to DRATs. And there's different things you can get with, they can get some digipeater function with WinLink. But anyway, so it's just kind of, I don't know, something to fuck around with, and something kind of that's got my interest in that mode. So anyway, thanks for letting me key up on this. And yeah, okay, I think that's all I had from Saskatoon. Thanks, Mike. This is Ron B5RS.
Well, of course, we appreciate you keying up. And speaking of slow data available through the ICOM radios, the fast data has been added to the MMDVM repeater gateway software, courtesy of, I believe, G4KLX. If there's another station that wrote the code, my apologies, but he's the likely culprit most of the time. And it's presently in testing. So it's limited to D-Star. So we'll have to see how that goes. Has anyone messed around with the D-Star fast data that is downloaded from GitHub? Whatever version of your image that you need to that you're running. I'm assuming it's, well, I'm not even sure what, well, I don't have it in front of me. But anyway, you'll see that when you go to get up the version that includes fast data. Anybody play with that yet? Stations, please key up. Oh, I didn't get a response. It's probably too new, and the latest I've seen is the stations are still playing with it. And just backtracking for a moment, K6JM posted in the Shoutbox regarding the IC9700 that Universal Radio has it for $1,900. I'm not sure if they strip options out of it or what's included. And that's an important point to see what you get with it and what kind of options you need to purchase in order to make it fully functional across all the bands and modes. But Jim reminds us that it supports D-Star digital data very similar to the old ID1 on 1.2 gigahertz, which you can either have an ID1 or you can install the 1.2 gigahertz module in the IC9100. But it is interesting that ICOM continues to pursue and advance digital data and hangs on to 1.2 gigs. In California, 1.2 gigs is just tough because of the over-the-horizon radar, as well as the FAA radars and other defense radars that have forced a lot of the repeaters to change frequencies. And while new frequencies were handed out, boy, the interest in 1.2 gig dropped. And the ID1s started being sold off, especially once they learned that ICOM was not going to be selling or making, that is, the ID1 anymore. You can find them certainly on the used market, but I don't believe there's any new stock on the old ID1, so to speak, but they've incorporated it nonetheless in the IC9700. So with that in mind, and we generally thank you for posting that on the Shoutbox, anyone have a comment or thoughts? Stations, please key up. Well, didn't get your response, so we'll see where that goes. Well, you know, there is some news out there. One of the things that I ran into was a radio club. It's called the Sundance Mountain Radio Association. Filed a petition for rulemaking with the FCC, asking it to fix the call sign area confusion, as they describe it. That is, that they want to reestablish the consistency between the call area indicated by an amateur radio call sign and its physical location. Now, as you all know, the current rules allow the licensee to retain their current call sign when moving to a new call area and can operate outside of the normal call area without any special indicator. The FCC found that there wasn't substantial need for that particular requirement, and as part of their transition to a fully digital and automatic database and system and licensing and system, that there was no need for this, that it would get in the way and would save money, that there was a cost to this. But now this particular amateur radio association, wants to stop that practice. And in its petition, it asserts that there is unnecessary and harmful confusion, again, quote unquote, caused to the amateur radio operation with this FCC rule, and it wastes precious time, they claim, and other problems that I, frankly, am not terribly sympathetic with, but they filed a petition. Just a minute. So what's interesting about this is they want to have the FCC modify. This is how they want the FCC to fix this. It's not just those in the future that either renew or apply for a new license or upgrade. But they want the FCC to automatically modify all amateur radio call signs in the Universal Licensing System, ULS, such that the call sign indicated in the license matches the station's location on record. So, the example that is used here is that call sign W6ABC living in Texas, for example, would receive a new call sign W5ABC, because W6 is certainly, as you guys know, well, California. And in the event that the W5ABC call sign is not available, the Universal Licensing System would receive a sequential, let's see, let me quote this here because I don't want to get this wrong, sequentially issued call sign for group A, B, C, or D, depending upon the license class. And so you might end up with W5ABD or something along those lines. But they want to get back to radio stations operating outside of their licensed area to indicate portable and mobile, and identify as they would, W6ABC/5 or N6HKH/5. And also requiring them to say, are you portable or mobile? Well, the FCC hasn't responded, and this is filed as satire and humor and fake news. So it's probably an April 1st Fool's joke. But there are a lot of stations that want this to occur. So even if this petition was phony, wasn't filed, or was filed as a hoax, what do you guys think? Is this an important thing? That is, knowing that if you talk to the W6 station, they're on the West Coast. They're not in New York. Or is the current system of, getting a call, just dragging your call sign and call area with you wherever you may go and not having to identify where you're from the way it should be? What do you think? Stations, please key up. K6JM, go ahead.
Wow. I think it's a very clever hoax. Well, let me just say I hope so. It reminds me, though, you're bringing this up on the round table, Mike, of the guy in the commercial a few years ago. I think it was a beer commercial, and two guys watching a ball game, and he sits down behind them, and he says, this beer is what is it? More taste, and then the other one says, less filling, no, more taste, no, less filling, and he gets them fighting with each other, and then he quietly leaves. I think that's what you're doing to us, Mike. I think that's great. It kind of ranks up there with the Flat Earth Society as kind of an interesting way to go. I will say this, though. When I moved, when I got back into ham radio after being out for quite a while, the first thing I did was to get my old callback, K0ZXU. And when here in California, when I was driving around mobile, people assumed that I was obviously on vacation and I was from the Midwest. And I ended up getting the 6 call just because to get rid of that. But I don't think it's worth an automated reassigning of call signs at all. Talk about money. But I think I thank you for bringing that up, and I think it's hilarious. Back to you. This is K6JM.
Okay, Jim. Let me be plain. This is an April Fool's Day joke, April 1st joke, and it was well done, well written. In fact, I should credit the author, which is Bob K0NR, I guess, from amateurradio.com. He posted this. It's very, very clever. But, and even though it never happened, there is no such petition. It's a struggle, and there are stations that don't like how you can just run your call sign all around the place. And of course, every time you move, you apply for a area modification, and with vanity call signs, your non-vanity call sign, let's just say, changing it from N6HKH, which is not a vanity call sign, to N5HKH, might be a vanity call sign because you're just changing something that doesn't need to be changed. But, there are stations that want this and actually advocate for it. And, but anyway, I just thought it was fun and wanted to see what you guys thought about it if it were real. Stations, I'm sorry, N0RSR, I didn't mean to I didn't catch you there, but I got you now. Go ahead.
N0 RSR stroke 7 does not like that as a joke either. Mine being a vanity call sign, I would be really upset if they had come up with that petition, but fortunately it's a joke. Back to you, N0 RSR stroke 7.
Yeah, no, I mean, nobody wants to have to change things, and most everybody, I think the stations are used to either quickly looking up. Well, maybe I'm falling out occasionally, but there was a double, and I didn't catch the call sign that keyed up, so let me get that call sign now. The station that just keyed up, please do so again. I didn't see anything, although there was a double, but apparently that was inadvertent and no big to-do. So, anyway, you know, there's some of these other requests to the FCC that we've talked about, including, you know, trying to come up with some way to reinstate the code requirement and how to identify a station by license class or maybe by call sign for those that are, let's say, extra Morse code or extra no Morse code, or stations kidding about stamping, you know, the back of the license that you get from the FCC if you choose to print it out, say no code or something silly like that. But, you know, there are all kinds of petitions that are filed with the FCC, and some of them are just plain stupid. Some of them are interesting. Many are, you know, with good intent, especially those from the ARRL and other major amateur radio organizations, but people petition for all kinds of stuff. I don't know how the FCC puts up with it. And frankly, this might be something, you know, fun to do anyway. All right. Any other comments on this or anything else related to your call sign on the FCC? Maybe there's a legitimate petition that you saw that you'd like to bring to our attention for discussion. If so, please key up now. All right. Nothing further on that. And let me be plain. This is a joke. You know, even though I read it as if it was not a joke, but it certainly is. All right. Let's see what's on your mind. You have questions of a technical nature you'd like to bring up and have stations hopefully answer, or is there a topic or subject that you think is worthy of our time tonight, and don't, you know, feel bad about bringing up something that you think might be silly, because I might find it very interesting. Of course, I'll be the ultimate judge of what we can talk about and what we can't, but still, what would you like to discuss before we get into some other topics that are pending? But I want to pause now to see what's on your mind. Stations, please key up. I have K4NDC and WB5EKU, and we say hello to K4NDC. Thanks for joining us. Go ahead.
Yeah, Roger, Night Control. This is K4NBC. Name is Tony, and I'm in Savannah, Georgia, and I just wanted to get on the list. Don't have no comment and no traffic. Back to net.
All right, Tony. There's no need to key up every roundtable because we don't take check-ins, quote unquote, although it doesn't bother me, especially when it's slow, but I have you in the official Thursday night D-Star Roundtable log, and you've been there for a while, so at least we appreciate hearing from you and don't have to worry about whether you're dead or alive. Thanks for being with us. WB5EKU. Go ahead, Tom.
WB5EKU. I've got a little issue that I have been fighting with for a while. It's a little bit with traveling. I like to take Pi-Star hotspot with me. And when I get in a situation like in some hotels or maybe on a cruise ship or something, it's not very easy to hook the Wi-Fi up to a Pi-Star if you don't have a computer running on the same internet that on the intranet that the Pi's on. Short of bringing a keyboard and a monitor, does anyone have a quick way to get public type internet into a Pi Star? I mean, I know there's a setting where you can leave it open, but that doesn't seem to work with something where you actually have to have a login. So I'm just wondering if anybody out there has any way to get a Pi Star under those circumstances, and I hope I explained it well. That's xxxSPOT, WB5EKU.
Yeah, you did, and this question came up a few months ago, and I'm going to have to go back and see if anyone had any response to it, but that doesn't matter because we're going to start anew with your question, and it's very specific. Stations, please key up. Okay, come on now. You guys that operate Pi Star, you know, this is a problem in the hotels and on cruise lines, although the cruise ship may be more daunting a task, but still, it could be Starbucks. It could be just public Wi-Fi, or it could be, as Don describes it, the internet that, you know, the only Wi-Fi you can get, at least plug it in, is, well, or wireless for that matter, in a hotel is what they provide. So you travel with a Pi Star hotspot and you don't want to drag around a computer. How do you connect? I know you guys have gotten over this. I remember a discussion. I can't find the date yet, but it's been a few months. But some of you guys, I think, did solve this, or at least had some suggestions. So let's help Don out. Stations, please key up. N0RSR, go ahead.
N0RSR. The way I solved that was I have my own little wireless hotspot that I use, and I know when you go to a hotel, there's no real good way to get by the login screens because each individual device has a MAC address and kind of needs to authenticate with that gateway that gets you into the hotel wireless or the McDonald's wireless or whatever. It might remember you a couple of days, so if you got in there and actually got it going, it might give you a couple of day lease on that IP address that it gave you. But other than that, I think the quickest and easiest way is to just get in there with your personal hotspot and personal wireless hotspot and connect to that. N0RSR back to you.
Alrighty, well, that presumes that you have cellular data service in the area, which would be, I think, true. Alright, I knew I had a bunch of dead air. Just hang on. I got a little problem I need to resolve. Just hang on. I'm sorry about that. Anyway, so the portable, wireless hotspot provided by your cellular provider is, a great way to go because there's very few areas that don't provide cellular coverage. I mean, there's certainly, I think there's more cell coverage problems than the cell data coverage, but in the remote areas of, especially the West, I mean, there's neither in many spots, but there surprisingly is cellular data capability, even in some fairly desolate and remote areas. So, having your, wireless, pocket Wi-Fi or whatever you want to call it that, you pay your cellular provider for would certainly be an answer, I think, especially with hotels, obtaining, connection. I'm not sure about a cruise ship. That would be a stretch. In fact, I don't even know that would work, but certainly in a hotel. So, all right, appreciate that. Anyone else with suggestions? Stations, please key up. K6FED, go ahead.
Hi, it's xxSPOT in the group. Mike, what I normally do is when I set up the Pi Star, I usually put in 3 Wi-Fis, one for my portable hotspot, one for the house, and then also my cell phone in case I forget my portable hotspot. So I have 3 ways of making sure that that I'm going to get on. And then as far as the cruise ship, let's see, if you have a laptop with you that has the capability of doing Wi-Fi sharing, you can actually take a portable router and get around that way also. N6HKH in the group, K6FED.
Yeah, great suggestion and an important reminder, because the question is, I don't want to have to bring a laptop or computer. I want to bring other stuff and just take my Pi Star with me because I love it. Setting it up ahead of time with the Wi-Fi connections to your portable, small little pocket Wi-Fi and other devices is important, because that gets around the need to have the laptop with you in order to program your Pi Star in order to make connection with whatever Wi-Fi you find yourself, it's available outside of ever so slow and login required, and everybody's watching and listening to what you're doing hotel Wi-Fi service, which I try to avoid at all costs, even though in theory I'm paying for it. Anybody else? Stations, please be up. All right, well, Don, you got a couple of suggestions. Hopefully that's going to work. Did any of those make sense, or did we, well, not understand your question. WB5EKU, go ahead.
Yes, he did, Mike. Yeah. And I guess I should have added also in like foreign countries where I wouldn't be able to use my cell phone as a wireless hotspot with my data. You had to pay 4 arms and 2 legs for data, foreign country. But yeah, okay. I'll keep exploring ways to see if there's a way to get around that. And, because it would be really neat to be able to go into a hotel and just pop it on and get on without firing up the computers or whatever, because sometimes you do want to travel light. So, hey, thank you, and thank all the stations that responded. I certainly appreciate the responses, and we'll do some more investigating. N6HKH, WB5EKU.
Okay, Don, thanks for posing it. K6FED keyed up. Go ahead.
Yes, Mike, you mentioned a foreign country. Usually when I travel abroad, we have what's called a Verizon package. It's called a travel pass, and it's only effective when you turn the phone on in that country. So if you're in, let's say, Mexico, it's $5 a day, and you're basically using your data plan and your cell phone plan. If you're in Europe, it's $10 a day, but it allows you to use your cell phone plan as well as your data. So that's usually what I do, and you only get charged for it on the days that you turn the phone on. So usually if I travel abroad, that's usually what I do, and I don't miss a beat as far as being able to use my digital stuff. So Verizon has a fairly nice little package that there's no, monthly cost or anything. Like I said, it's only effective when you actually use a phone. N6HKH in the group. This is K6FED.
Good to know. WB5EKU, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for that, Frank. I do have Verizon, and I do have the travel pack with me, but they told me with my data plan, which is, I think, is an 8 gig a month, that I don't have the unlimited plan for one or two other reasons, but one of them I was in the unlimited plan, and they changed it and wouldn't grandfather me into it, but that's not part of the story. When I got my travel contact, they told me that I was only good for, I don't remember if it was half a gig a day, a day, or 1 gig a day, under my 8 gig plan. And, that was both in, that was in South America. I forgot what it was in Europe a couple of years ago. But I will call them and I will investigate that a little further, because that would be the ideal way to do it. South America was $10 a day also, and so was Europe, but Mexico is $5 a day. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Frank. WB5EKU.
Well, all right. Yeah, we had a debate back when data was more expensive, and I don't know how many companies offer unlimited. They claim unlimited, but then they tighten it down, and after so much use, and there's limitations on what unlimited means, and it's a mess. I allegedly have unlimited data on Sprint, but I'm not sure what that means. And I ran into the same problem that Don did, where in order to upgrade my device, I had to change data plans from unlimited to the quote-unquote new unlimited. So it changed things, but haven't had to invoke the traveling abroad. But that's a good option. So now I noticed that N0RSR posted in the Shoutbox that he said after seeing a few of the 2019 RSA conference videos that he's afraid to connect to any other hotspot. And I'm not sure what videos he's referring to, although he gave us a link to some of these to RSA, which let's see, virtual session, RSAC, whatever that is, the 5 most dangerous new attack techniques and how to counter them. But nevertheless, there's a number of videos that apparently will scare the pants off of you and keep you from, connecting to anything other than your own, or somebody that is not going to be listening in. I have to admit that there's been a lot of problems lately reported from the use of public Wi-Fis, and even the mainstream conservative digital media types are saying if you don't sign up with an encryption service, so-called VPN, and pay for that, and then have all your devices connect through that you're an idiot. And there's just no excuse for that. Is that the point? N0RSR, if you'd like to comment, go ahead. All right, well, maybe that's the reason why he posted in the Shoutbox, because he couldn't get in with us. But is this a problem? Is public Wi-Fi becoming, horribly dangerous? Is, it to the point where you need to connect through your through an encryption service of whatever nature? There's a lot of them out there, and I don't even remember how much they run, but is that the norm now? That if you leave your house and the sanctity and safety of your home Wi-Fi or internet connection, that you need to turn on some sort of encryption service and get redirected somewhere else, and have yourself protected, because anybody and everybody can both take a look at the data that you're streaming or even processing, and you just open yourself up to all kinds of people listening in and are capturing what you're doing. And is an encryption service is that the answer? But I was shocked actually to see one of the usual tech commentators, and I can't remember what network, but it maybe it was Fox News, and they just said outright, if you leave your house, turn on your encryption service, whatever that may be, and have it on at all times. Otherwise, bend over. Are we there? Stations, please key up. Well, apparently it isn't that big of a deal. I thought that it was, but, who am I to say? In fact, let me go over here and just see if I can't find this article. It's pretty interesting. And, well, I'm looking for it. I can't, of course, it's one of those nights where I can't find anything, but that wouldn't surprise me. But there was, well, anyway, I'll find one of the articles and I'll post it. I think I, clipped it and I'll get it up on the website. But it was from, someone who, poo-pooed the extra cost of an encryption service and now saying if you don't have one, you're an idiot, kind of a thing. And so I'll check, I'll find that and post that. I don't know. It just seems that it makes me think of if I leave the confines of my home, using my home's Wi-Fi, be it for the cellular or for whatever device I'm connecting to, that I either need to disconnect the Wi-Fi and turn it off so it doesn't roam and connect to who knows what Wi-Fi is broadcasting as I'm driving along and my device finds it and uses it, or is it worth the annual expense? And I don't know. They run from $30 to $100 depending upon the type of encryption service that you like, but or you need or you think you need. But the exposure of your IP address and location, and is that big of a concern, or is this just worrywart stuff that the encryption services are trying to spread to make you buy their service? Is it unnecessary? I don't know. I just thought it might be something of some interest. Anyway, stations, please key up. K6JN, go ahead.
I think it's a legitimate concern. I would like somebody who knows a lot more about networking than I do to talk about that. I mean, obviously, if, let's say, you have a laptop and you connect to a open Wi-Fi at a hotel or somewhere, and you only go to SSL, HTTPS type web addresses, then you've got some encryption between your browser and the server you're connecting to. And that would provide you some protection. And but what I don't know is how much protection versus the virtual private network, the solution that you described. And I have done that, by the way. I paid $5 or $6 a month when I was doing a lot of traveling and felt much more comfortable. And when I didn't do so much traveling, I dropped that service, and now I won't. I'm afraid to use hotel Wi-Fi. There is a product I'm looking at on the internet. It's from Hootu, spelled Hooo, and the TripMate Versatile Wireless and Travel Router. And I haven't just ran across it. So I haven't figured out how you type in the hotel or the ship's code they give you to get it authorized. But then it rebroadcasts, if you will. It becomes an access point to pass that, to have sharing of that. I think there are some solutions out there, and I think, Mike, you might, try to bring this up again next week and see if people found some other solutions so we could talk about it again. I think it's a great question and something that's a real issue. Back to you, K6JM.
Well, so it seems, and I just searched for one, and I'm not recommending this at all. Just the first one that came up when I Googled it was Surfeasy VPN for Mac. That's what I'm looking at right now. And it does a lot of things, but it stops creepy advertisers from following you around, and never worry about unprotected Wi-Fi networks again, et cetera, et cetera. And this doesn't have a price, of course, so I don't know, what that costs, but because of the vulnerability we have to attackers and hackers and snoopers, etc. Is this something that is necessary? As Jim says, it's legit. As RSR seems to think is the case, but I don't know. I mean, these are legal, and we're trying to get some pricing here, but. Anyway, I don't know. It just seems that it's creepy out there in the Wi-Fi. I don't like connecting to anybody else's Wi-Fi necessarily, and I don't like doing anything on it. But, sometimes when you're out and about and you're shopping and there's something that, attracts your attention, and let's say you hadn't planned on purchasing it, and, I've found myself checking the balances in my bank accounts to see if there's enough money there. Do I need to transfer? Do I want to do it? Is it, of course, it's also a way to check myself by saying, hey, don't buy this. You're an idiot. You don't have the money for it right now anyway. But the idea that anybody could track that is just shocking. Or capturing my bank data for, login attempts, which is all automatic. But anyway. All right, anybody else on this? And we will bring it up again, perhaps. Somebody listening to this on a recorded basis can think this through and help us out next time. But any further comments? Is this just nervous Nelly, or, as it seems to be the case, somewhat legit? Or is this all? Is there a non-cost way to avoid all of this? That's while you're out driving around, you don't have to stop and reconfigure your phone. Stations, please keep up. N0RSR, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say it's not so much nervous Nellies as the wave of the future. Those RSA videos I spoke of in the Shoutbox, there's actually one that they have an SDR radio or a SDR dongle connected to basically a Raspberry Pi and a battery. The guy says he spent about $60 on it, and with that he can pretty much take down the company. And he basically goes on and shows you the waterfall of all the radio signals happening, like phone signals and wireless card signals, and he basically shows you everything going on in the conference room while he's there. And there's another spot in our little town of Casa Grande here. We have a prize, and they're all about having online shopping and pick and choose and stuff like that, but the app requires you to be on their Wi-Fi. And even if they're saving me money, I'm not doing it. So, anyway, just my thought. N0RSR, back to that.
Well, thanks for that. I mean, for a while, the VPNs were advertised as being a way to avoid people watching what you do, and if you, were a fan of porn, you turned on your VPN so that you couldn't be tracked and nobody knew it was you, and you wouldn't be inundated with emails and other ads from, other adult content providers. But it seems to have moved beyond that to where it's much easier to capture your radio's data, your cell phone's data. Well, could be your radio too, I guess, but anything operating on the internet or involved in the transmitting to it from the Wi-Fi. But of course, this doesn't include the Ethernet cable unless you're going out to websites that you shouldn't be on, and certainly an encryption service, which allows you to change your location from one side of the country to another, or for that matter, to an entirely different country if you so choose. But it seems like it's escalated up from just avoiding the embarrassment of being tracked into websites that you don't want anybody else to know that you're visiting, to avoiding, data being captured. So, alright, we'll bring this up again at another time. But we're still into the, open topic segment, I believe, and, so anything else on your mind that, well, we need to kick around, or some of the news that you stumbled upon that's worthy of, discussion, or could be a technical question that, is just bugging you to death and you'd like to get to some help with. All the above. Stations, please key up. WB5EKU, go ahead.
Yeah, Mike, I just want to make a comment. I should have made it earlier. I had listened to last week's VStar Roundtable on YouTube, the link you had sent, and I do have to say I really like the quality. It sounds really, really good. I think we have a winner there. WB5EKU.
Well done. Boy, I hope so, because that's where we're going. And so for those that joined us late, trying to figure out what we're talking about, the podcast is going to be discontinued in the sense that we're taking the audio and moving it to YouTube. And I provided a link for those that want to link directly to YouTube to pick up the audio. It's on the Roundtable forum board Shoutbox, which if you, well, I think we're still sending audio out to both the iTunes podcast as well as YouTube, and it's going to continue on with YouTube for, from here on out. But the YouTube can be found by typing in any number of keywords, including Roundtable and other stuff. But I put the link up in the Shoutbox so that if you're listening to this on a recorded basis, the Shoutbox is moved to the Shoutbox History at the conclusion of each net. So for those that don't get it downloaded automatically, you can go to General Discussions. You'll see Shoutbox History. It's hard to miss. It's the second category down on the Roundtable forum board. And just click on that, and you'll see a link that was posted from last week, a link that's posted tonight. And eventually you'll just, the easiest way to do this is just subscribe to the channel. It's like a no harm, no foul. Now you have to sign into YouTube, which frankly is, pretty common. I don't know the downside to signing into YouTube. It certainly helps you with YouTube, and you might be harmed in getting certain kinds of, well, anyway. I don't know that YouTube generates emails just randomly. In any event, subscribe to the channel, please. And that way, you won't even have to try to find the link or search for it or anything else, because there it will be. And Don, thank you for that. Stations, please key up. Alright, anything else on your mind that we need to discuss before I randomly pick out something else to discuss? I do have a number of topics that we can lean into, but we'd rather hear from you. Stations, please key up now. All right, nothing seen or heard. There's talking about Wi-Fi, and despite, the best way to connect your hotspots is certainly by Ethernet and not using the Wi-Fi for all kinds of reasons. But we've talked about the problems of wireless connections. And there's been an increasing amount of experimentation and research and development into an alternative to radio waves, that is wireless communications without radios. And one of the things that I thought was kind of intriguing is the so-called Li-Fi, Li-Fi. And thanks to Mauser Electronics and their blog, I was able to find this article from February that talks about the problems of Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and for that matter 3G, 4G cellular, and there's issues with things from signal to noise ratio to slow speed, too many devices, it explains why your phone is so slow at crowded events, and sending too much data on a fixed radio network, and bandwidth and all kinds of problems can come up in using connecting devices by Wi-Fi. So this Wi-Fi, getting to the point, is called light fidelity. That's the Li-Fi, and it's emerging as a so-called visible light communication technology for wireless communications, and is a possible replacement for Wi-Fi. The article describes Wi-Fi and so-called quote-unquote free space optical communications uses modulated light beams to carry digital data at very high network capabilities, or capacities really, without using any RF spectrum. So a digital message, let's say an IP packet, is encoded with a standard protocol and used to modulate a light source, be it visible, ultraviolet, infrared, laser, or LED, with a high-speed bit stream. And the emitted light is processed by an optical system to direct it towards a receiver. So this receiver, crosses through free space. Well, that doesn't make any sense. The light is directed towards a receiver. It then crosses through free space to where a portion of the light is received by an optical system at the remote device. And there it's converted to electrical signal by a fast photodetector. It's amplified, demodulated, and converted back to the original message for use by the device's processor. And of course, bidirectional communication, just the opposite direction is the optical stream, is all that's needed. And interference and I guess busy devices and the problems that they provide for radio wireless communications is avoided. And so far, prototype systems have shown capabilities over 100 gigabytes. So I found that interesting. Anyone else find this interesting? Does anyone else believe that we need an alternative to radio wireless connection? Is your Wi-Fi causing you gastric distress? Are you always looking for the bigger, better, baddest, faster router? Are you praying that your internet service provider can truly give you 1 gig, not just say up to, and have it be far below that? Are you looking for something bigger, better? And does this sound like it might, be the ticket? Stations, please, Gia. K6JM, go ahead.
Just one question. How many walls does the light go through before it gets too dim to make it to the receiver?
Believe it or not, this particular article doesn't say. But there is a discussion about beam deflectors that can be used to get around points and get to active devices. And it's been tested with smartphones, and it's in some of the newer systems, the Wi-Fi systems that are still under test, bathe an entire room with the same modulated signal, so that all receiving devices in the same room can use the MAC protocols, etc. But the article does admit that it needs to be done better. That and it implies that if you're on one side of the house and you're needing to get to the other side of the house by Wi-Fi, that may not be available yet. But it doesn't specifically say that this is only for close encounters. K6JN, go ahead.
Yeah, obviously I was being a little bit facetious, but yeah, I mean, I can see any new technology, people end up thinking of ways. I mean, obviously, a mirror that will work for whatever wavelength light that the device uses could be set up in a way that, in some situations, particularly certain office situations, you could imagine you could get pretty wide coverage. And yeah, so I mean, I'm poo-pooing it, but I can see, that it could be actually a pretty good solution in some cases. And then we'll have people putting little light sensors on drones, picking up the Wi-Fi systems by listening through the, not listening, watching through the office windows. Back to you, K6JM.
Well, and let me cite this article. It's Li-Fi wireless connections without radios. It's in the Mauser blog. It was posted February 8th, 2019 by Charles Byers, but I don't have much more information on him. It does show that the higher is a high elevation wireless communication protocol and tool, and it's beamed downwards as opposed to a router which tends to beam upwards and out, and that it's it has such great capabilities because it doesn't have the capacity limits that are imposed by radio spectrum and the availability of radio spectrum, frankly. And so the light-based technologies like Li-Fi, and there are others, can carry the messages or security or whatever. The security, interference, immunity are highly improved. And so they're looking at both directional optical networks using deflection or multi-beam endpoints and those that shower it down. And there's going to be ways to get around it. I'm sure that I don't know about light going through walls, but can lasers go through walls? I don't know. And laser is one of the spectrums that this can use. I mean, it's got visible, ultraviolet, infrared, laser, LED. I'm not sure what all can penetrate, and what kind of walls can be put together, but there are devices with overlapping sectors in a open environment that is while you're driving around. So it's not just something that's indoors. Anyway, does anyone know anything about this and wish to comment on it? Or is this something that just is simply of no interest to anyone other than someone like myself? Stations. Well, and K6JM, of course. Well, I shouldn't say that because I'm sure that there are a number of people that are interested in the advancement of wireless connections. Stations, please key up. Well, apparently you left your mouths, gaping and in bewilderment, and this is, not some terribly futuristic thing. It's being worked on now, so I don't know. This article doesn't say where it's being deployed or tested, and it just talks about the technology, and there's been a number of papers written, but, they're going to find a way to make Wi-Fi as sturdy and capable as the radio-based Wi-Fi. So we'll see where this goes. I mean, you can never have enough lasers beaming data inside your house. I mean, who wouldn't want to go to bed at night knowing that there's this shower of laser light coming from above that no matter where you are, everything works, everything's connected, and nothing's slow. Anyway. All right, so anything else for tonight's Thursday night D-Star Roundtable? I'm out of topics. Well, I'm not out of them, but the other topics, quite frankly, I'm going to hold off on. And, I've got a sore tooth, and so the more I talk, the worse it feels, although I've been, throwing painkiller on it. I mean, clove oil and stuff like that. And I'm all right. I'm going to get it fixed tomorrow at the dentist, but it's just, rattling in the mouth and excessive talking and not enough listening. doesn't go pain, and that's an excuse that I can use to end the roundtable sooner than later, but I'm not using that excuse, mind you. Just that I'm not going to bring up any more topics. That's up to you. So, the question is there anything else that you may have for tonight's Thursday night D-Star Roundtable? If so, please key up now. K6JM, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank N0 RSR for the web addresses that he posted on the Shoutbox to the videos, and then he followed up just 12 minutes ago with another one that he said the video that made the most impact for me was this one, and then he gives the URL. So I want to say thank you. I'm going to take a look at those, and I'm going to start with that one that he said he liked the best. So just want to recognize that. Very helpful. Back to you, Mike, K6JM.
Yes, and N0RSR was very, I'm just reading, I see it. This is what happens when I don't refresh my browser. Posted some very interesting stuff, very useful stuff, and things that I'm going to have to myself take a look at and look into. So, N0RSR, thank you for participating in the Roundtable Forum Board's Shoutbox and providing links and helping us make the most of what we talk about here on the Thursday Night D-Star Roundtable. In fact, I'm going to download a quick copy right now of that before it throws too far off the screen because I want to take a look at some of the stuff. But, that's right. You guys are going to have to see Jim's post on the Roundtable Forum Board. So, anything else for tonight's Roundtable before we draw it to a close? Stations, please key up. All right, you didn't see anything. We've been running about an hour and 45 minutes, which is certainly long enough. It doesn't have to be just that. It could be that it's not long enough, depending upon what we're doing tonight. But that doesn't matter because we're back here next Thursday, as we are on every Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific here on the constellation of X reflectors. I want to make sure that I thank each and every station that participated in tonight's roundtable, whether keying up or posting in the Shoutbox, because without your participation, there would be no roundtable. Feel free to come on over to the constellation of X reflectors as described in the top of the landing page for the D-Star Roundtable Forum Board at roundtable, all one word, .tech, T-E-C-H. Just check out our X reflectors as well as the transcoding dual mode for our DMR friends, and come on over and key up and chat and see who's around. Spring break is in full run and coming up at least here in southern Nevada pretty soon, so that may take people away, but happy to chat with you. And if you have any thoughts or ideas or suggestions for things that we should talk about here on the Roundtable, feel free to post it on the Roundtable Forum Board. You can put it in the Shoutbox. Just wait until after we clear it from tonight, because otherwise it would disappear, and I may not see that post, although it would go to the Shoutbox History. But there yet, you can email me at n6hkh@me.com, or however method you may enjoy in being able to let me know what's on your mind. We're always looking for things to talk about. So with that, I hope everybody has a great weekend. It looks like hockey season's coming to an end as I turn around to see what's happening in sports. March Madness is, down to, the 4, and that's fun. Lots of things going on in the sporting arena. Baseball is cranking out now. So this is a great time to be a sports fan. If you're not, I don't know. You could have a lonely life. In any event, everybody have fun. Talk to you on D-Star, N6HKH. Good night.